In this lesson, we're going to be looking at slope in equations. Our objectives: understand where slope is in an equation, understand what the equation of a line with a slope of 0 looks like, understand what the equation of a line with an undefined slope looks like. Vocabulary: slope, movement or slant of a line. I'm going to use our method of finding rate of change to show that within an equation, as long as you have y all by itself, the slope is actually already there, and we just haven't noticed it before. So I'm going to start with the one on the left here. So I've got my x's. I've already added on so we can do rate of change, but we need to figure out the y's to start. So no fractions. I went by ones. 0 in for 3, or in for x. We would have 3 times 0, which would give us 0. So we go 4 minus 0. So this one right here is going to be 4. Okay? Then we're going to do 3 times 1, which would be 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. Okay? Do another one to make sure we see a pattern. 3 times 2, which is 6. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Down 3, down 3, down 3 again would be negative 5. Alright, so now I'm going to fill out the rate of change information. So delta x, 0 to 1 is 1, 1 to 2 is 1, and 2 to 3 is 1. 4 to 1 is negative 3, 1 to negative 2 is negative 3, and negative 2 to negative 5 is negative 3. If you notice, I get negative 3 over 1, negative 3 over 1, negative 3 over 1. So I've got a slope equals negative 3. Now if you look closely at our original equation, right next to x is negative 3. So our slope was actually already in the equation. Well, let's see if that holds up with a different equation. So here I've got fractions to try and see if it still plays out like this. So if we use what happened in the last problem, my guess would be that the slope should be right next to x. So right next to x is 1/2. So I'm guessing that the slope should end up being 1/2 in this situation. If it is, we have a pattern that we can probably use, being the number next to x, or being multiplied by x, as we got multiplication here, would be considered the slope. So 0 in, we're going to get 0 plus 5, gives us 5. 2 1/2 would be 1 plus 5, which is 6. 4 1/2 would be 2 plus 5, which is 7. And that would mean this would be 8 using our pattern. Okay, we can always check our work using our calculator to kind of see what's going on here. Now let's do our delta x and delta y. 0 to 2 is 2, 2 to 4 is 2, 4 to 6 is 2. 5 to 6 is up by 1, 6 to 7 up by 1, 7 to 8 up by 1. This is 1 over 2, 1 over 2, 1 over 2. Slope equals 1/2. And if you notice, it was in our equation. Okay, so let's look at some other equations and use this knowledge to identify the slope. So instead of going through the long process of finding the slope just to see that it's already there, I've got these problems. Well, my first one, y equals x plus 5. If you remember, we're looking for what's being what's being multiplied by x? Well, there's nothing being multiplied by x, but if you remember from the past, anytime there's no number in front of x, we really have a 1. So here, the slope equals 1. Okay, this one below here, well, it looks like the 5 halves. Always look, it's a positive sign in front, so this is a slope equaling positive 5 over 2. Okay, now we've got this one here. Here's our x. We're multiplying with 4. But there's a minus sign in front of the 4, so this is actually negative 4. Okay, again, for this one, no number in front of x. We got that minus sign, so we need to put a 1 in front. So the slope here equals negative 1. Alright, let's look at horizontal and vertical lines, what their equations look like, and identify with slope there. So for a horizontal line, we know that the slope is 0. So basically there are 3 ways that an equation can look for the slope to be 0. We can have y equaling any number. We can have y equals 0x plus or minus some number. The minus and plus are interchangeable, that's why I've got plus there. Or y equals some number plus 0x. So I've got 3 examples of this. Y equals 3, since there is no x, that means we multiplied by 0. So there's no slope, a 0 slope. Here we have y equals 0x minus 1, and here we have y equals 2/3 plus 0x. So each of these have slopes of 0. The vertical line is a little different. In a vertical line, we have a slope that's undefined, which means we will have x equals some number. Notice no y in this situation. Anytime a slope is undefined, that means the y is not in the problem. So x equals negative 7. X equals 1/2. Both of those would be examples of vertical lines. Alright, if there's any part of this that you didn't understand or you need to watch again, make sure you pause, rewind, and rewatch, and bring your questions to class. Thank you.